Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick Wallace once again coming at you for another morning motivational moment, hoping that I can share something with you that will help you get your day started off on a positive note. You know how important it is to make sure that you start your day out in the right mindset, because how you start your day is going to determine how you interpret the situations and circumstances that you come in contact with during the day, how you're going to interpret challenges and opportunities as they present themselves. And so we want to get started on a positive note. That's one of the reasons why I'm actually doing this more than the one day a week on Facebook that I said I would, is because I believe, based on the responses that I'm getting. Good morning. Good morning. I believe, based on the responses I'm getting, that it's having a positive impact. And so I'm going to continue to invest myself in it as long as I see that people are actually benefiting from it. And I'm hoping that you're taking some of the principles that I share with you along the way and actually implementing them into your lives, activating and applying them, and reaping the results of it. Today I want to talk with you briefly about the stories we tell. When matter of fact, I just posted a meme that read, once you understand just how powerful your thoughts are, you'll understand that everything in your life is exactly how you allow it to be. And that is absolutely true. While there are a number of people will come up and begin to lay down other reasons and other influences and things that other people did and all of these other things that have taken place in their life, in their past, and point to, well, this is what got me here. Ultimately, when you look at the power of your mind to conceive, to develop ideas, and to convince yourself and establish your belief systems, you will find that while other people may have an impact on your life, you are the ultimate determination or determining factor in where you are, because you have the power to respond and counter any negative impact or influence in your life. You have the capacity to create from your mind. God gave you that capacity. God gave you in your design the capacity to create from nothing. He gave you the capacity to manifest that which is not now into your future. That's something that he gave you in your design. I talk all the time about living life at the level of your design. Most people are almost completely unaware of their design. Most people are completely oblivious to the fact that they have a gift that is implanted in the DNA of their design. Most people are completely unaware that they have a genius that will allow them to access and activate and apply that gift in unbelievable ways throughout their life. They've bought into the stories that were told to them early in life that planted the limitations and created and established the limitations through which they now live life. The beliefs that have corralled them into an area of living average or living in an impoverished state, or in being stuck in the maze of mediocrity and all of the other things that people tend to live in and complain about without changing. And the crazy thing is that the complaining actually creates the energy that perpetuates the situation, because not only does it create negative energy, it reinforces the mindset of hopelessness and helplessness, making you a perpetual victim. And so what I want to talk about specifically here is, while we all have the potential of allowing while we all have the potential of allowing someone to speak into our lives and set expectations. Speaking of expectations, let me start right there, and then we're going to roll into this real quick. I tell people all the time that life is a life of faith. First, you have faith in your Creator. You have faith in your Creator, but the faith that you have in your Creator, that He is, or however you view your Creator, whether it's the universe, whether it's God, whatever, that your Creator has this infinite power, this infinite wisdom, this infinite intelligence that provides you with this unbelievable ability to accomplish things. But you first have a belief in God. Once you have a belief in God, then you have a belief that God is an infinitely intelligent and an infinitely powerful God, and that God is the creator of the universe, and that God created the universe in order. And so this order that He created in the universe responds and acts and responds to energy, it responds to faith. So based on whatever type of faith you have, whatever type of energy, and faith is emitted as an energy, it moves the universe, but depending on what your faith is. The problem is that a bunch of us have this negative faith that's based around, doubt is a faith as well. Doubt is a faith that doesn't believe, or that tends to wear at belief. And so I always tell people that your faith in your design, not in God. See, most believers of whatever faith or religion that you practice believe that God is God and He's all powerful. Here's the problem. The reason that you haven't made much progress isn't because you don't have faith in God. It's because that you don't have faith in you, in the fact that God created you and prepared you to deal with anything that you could come into in this life, that God gave you a purpose, that God gave you a destiny, and along with that destiny is this design, and this design has a gift, and this gift is to be activated, cultivated, refined, and then this gift is to be associated with developed skill sets to go out and accomplish the extraordinary. And along with this gift is this genius on the inside of you that knows exactly how to use that gift like only you can. That is in everybody. I can tell you that I have come across thousands and thousands and thousands of people in a professional environment, in a personal environment, in a social environment, in a casual environment. And what I can tell you is there is not one person that I have come in contact with, whether child, adolescent, or adult, whether someone born with what we would call intellectual challenges, or someone born in poverty, someone born in a situation where they didn't have a father, someone born into an environment where they were molested. It does not matter. Every person in this world is born with a specific gift that is a part of their design. And with that gift, they also have a genius on the inside of them that knows how to optimize and maximize the gift. Here's the problem. We live in a society of average people where people have found comfort. They not only learned to tolerate average and mediocrity, they found comfort in mediocrity. Why? Because mediocrity has proven to be the most crowded and populated environment in life. And so it's easy to find others that are on the same playing field, maybe doing different things, but still living a life of mediocrity, living a life of being average. And this isn't about demeaning anyone. It's talking about a mindset that's okay with just existing. See, being average, all you got to do is wake up every day and show up. You don't have to make any sacrifices to be average. You don't have to put in some extra hours to be average. You don't have to commit yourself to anything with any significance and any real true permanence to be average. It doesn't take any hard work to be average. It just show up and you'll be average. And see, that's where we found comfort. And what I found about average people, even those average people that aspire for something else, is that they have a major problem with those who desire and aspire and put in the work and begin to ascend. And so they consistently act as dream stealers, as dream robbers. They will come in and tell you why you can't do something. Early in life, you've been told what you can't do. Early in life, you've been told to rethink your dreams. Early in life, you were given these boundaries and these constraints that said, this is the box that you operate in. This is the box that you live in. And don't you dare step out of this box, because you are not built to deal with the things on the outside of this box, and you're bound to hurt yourself. You're bound to destroy yourself. You're bound to get caught up in some things that you're not prepared for if you get out of this box. Your box is to get up and go get a job. It doesn't matter if the job is in your passion and your purpose or not. Just get a job, and your goal is to work in this job and do the best you can and get the best out of it. Your goal is to let someone else set your value by telling you how much they're going to pay you to do this job that you do. Your goal in life is to sit up and get through this with as little strain and little resistance and little opposition as possible. And if you're making a little bit more than your parents made, you're doing good. Your goal is to go to college. If you go to college in an environment in which most of your relatives didn't go to college, you're doing good. Go out and get you a job in the field that you went to college for. And if you're lucky, you get high 5 figures, low 6 figures, and you're living better than most people in your particular group. You're doing great. You're not in life. You're not competing against your parents. Yes, you are supposed to do better than your parents, because your parents are supposed to lay a foundation for you that gives you a head start above where they began. There's supposed to be some generational wealth being developed that will allow you to get a start in your quest to be whatever you want. Whether you want to start a business or not, there should be some wealth that will help you get that business started without going into debt. If you want to go to school to further your knowledge, to add to your gift and your genius, there should be some wealth there to help fund that, so you don't go into debt while gaining the academic skills necessary to be conjoined with your gift and your genius to do that thing that you're passionate about. But that's another story. But so yes, you should be doing better than your parents, but you're not competing against your parents. You're not competing against the person next to you. You're not competing against what the average person is doing. You're competing against the potential in your design. You are competing against what you're capable of versus what you're doing. You are looking at yourself, examining yourself, and looking at what you're doing and determining within yourself that while I see other people doing this, this, and this, and it seems okay to the rest of the world, am I fulfilling my potential? And what I can tell you as a man, every morning I wake up and I look in the mirror, I ask myself that question. And the question is every day the same answer. No, I'm not doing everything I can to fulfill my potential. No, I'm not living up to the fullest of my potential. Yes, there are things that I need to work on. Yes, there are things that I need to do to better myself. I could be a better husband. I could be a better father. I could be a better businessman. I could be better in the way that I work with my people in the community. I've got work on me to do. And I'm okay with that. I'm not somebody that's disillusioned into the idea that I've got to be perfect in order to impact those around me. I've just got to be authentic and committed. I've just got to be trying. But then I've got to look at myself, and when I see something in myself that's hindering me, I've got to be willing to change it. And let me explain to you how I change it. Then we're going to talk about the stories we tell. Let me tell you how I change it. I examine me. When something's wrong in my life, I've trained myself to stop looking at other people. I've trained myself to stop blaming the fact that I never knew my father. I trained myself to stop blaming the fact that I'm a black man in the midst of a racist society. I've trained myself to stop blaming the person that broke my heart 25 years ago. I trained myself to sit up and say, Rick, you're the only common denominator in your life. When you go back and you look at every situation you've been through, it's you standing there. Every other thing, the elements change. You are the only constant element in your life, meaning that you have the greatest power to exact change, to cause change, to create change. If you're not experiencing change, it starts with you. So I take an introspective examination. Things I thought that I was functioning at a high level at, I find need work, and I'm okay with that. I've given myself permission to be in process. I've told myself I'm not perfect, and I'm good with that. But let me tell you what may separate me from you. I just told you I'm not perfect. No matter what platform I've spoken from, as a preacher, as a minister, as a bishop, as a counselor, as a lecturer, no matter what platform I've spoken from, I've always led with, I do not teach or lecture from a platform of perfection. I am a man who is flawed. I am a man who is still learning. I am a man who is still developing. And you have to understand that if you're coming at me expecting me to be perfect, you might as well get off the train now. If you're expecting me to have it all together, you might as well step off and go find some other leader, some other person with this pseudo perfection that can fulfill your need for a perfect leader, a perfect inspirational influence, or whatever you see me as. I'm not that person. But here's what separates me from the vast majority of people that I come in contact with. I only tell myself stories of possibility and potential. I never tell myself stories of what I can't do. I never tell myself stories of impossibility. I write the narrative of my life every day. First of all, through my thought processes. Let me explain to you how that works. I speak and I think into my subconscious through my consciousness. But I understand the power of my subconscious to process at a rate up to 50,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. So things that my conscious is incapable of, my subconscious can do. But what I convince my subconscious of becomes my reality, because my subconscious can process more than my conscious. So I train my subconscious to believe that I can do anything that I can conceive in my mind. So that anything comes to my mind, I don't see it as an impossibility. I see it as a challenge, and then I attack it. But see, the biggest thing is that my subconscious, when I feed my subconscious, it doesn't stop there. See, I am a holistic individual, and so are you. I don't just exist in the physical state. I don't just exist in the mental state. I am a mind, a body, a soul, and a spirit. And my spirit is the ultimate existence of myself. It is the transcendent part of me that will always continue to live. When the body dies, my spirit will still be alive. It will be the energy and the force that continues to move throughout time in the universe. And I understand that. So I understand that my spirit has the capacity to manifest things that I can't manifest in the physical first. What I've learned is that while we're operating in the physical realm, the third dimension, where we can see, feel, and touch things, we're also existing and manifesting things in the fourth and fifth dimension, which are the spiritual dimensions. Matter of fact, everything that comes in the physical dimension, the third dimension, is first manifested in the fourth and fifth dimensions, the spiritual dimensions. How? Through our spirit. In other words, we speak it, we affirm it, we set our belief systems in line by what we speak, affirm, and allow others to speak into our lives. When we speak these stories, when we tell these stories, the reason that I can't do this is this. The reason that I can't do it now is this. The reason that I will never be successful at this is this. While we're telling ourselves those stories, they are setting a belief system within our subconscious that is developing a parameter by which we operate in life. But it's also simultaneously communicating to our spirit who we are and what we're capable of. So now when we see something, we're not just seeing a circumstance, whether negative or positive. We're not just seeing a circumstance through our physical eyes. We are now seeing it through our spiritual eyes, and it is our spiritual eyes that interprets the circumstance. But see, if we've been telling ourselves stories of limitations, if we've been telling ourselves stories of negativity, if we've been telling ourselves stories of the reasons why we can't, I can't because I'm still dealing with the fact that I never knew my father. I can't because I'm still dealing with the fact that I was molested as a child. I can't because I never had any access to wealth. I don't know what wealth is about. I can't do anything because I'm financially illiterate. So I'm kind of stuck where I am until somebody else comes along and teaches me or shows me or opens a door for me. You set the limitations of what you can expect out of life. And what I can tell you is God and the universe will only meet you at the level of your expectations. Because now your spirit now believes that you've limited in what you can do. You've taken infinite power and entity given to you by the Creator to do exceptional, extraordinary, and phenomenal things, and you've capped it with erroneous and fallacious beliefs. Something someone else told you or something you saw in someone else, and you decided to adapt their reality. You decided to take their opinion and make it your reality. Now you're living by the limitations. Why? Because your subconscious told your spirit that was who you were. So now when you come up to a situation, it interprets the situation as a problem. Yes, it's a negative circumstance. But depending on what your spirit, my spirit believes that all things are possible, that there's nothing that can come in front of me that can stop me, that my destiny was written in the moment that the Creator designed me, and that as long as I stand firm and I walk out in it and I live in it and I push, I live, I believe, I fight, I grind, I work, you can't stop me. Matter of fact, the very definition as I live by it for destiny is the more you try to stop me, the more you guarantee that I succeed. You are simply a part of my process. You are simply a part of who I am. You are simply an obstacle in my journey that makes me stronger, that makes me smarter, that makes me more resourceful, that makes me more creative, that makes me push my imagination to the brink. That is who you are if you're trying to stop me. You can't stop me. Because I've already told my spirit I'm unstoppable. So when my spirit sees negativity, it shuts down my physical vision. And it starts to interpret that circumstance. And what happens is no matter how negative the circumstance, my spirit disagrees with it. What does that mean? My spirit overrides it. My spirit sees both negative and positive as an opportunity to rise, an opportunity to excel, an opportunity to overcome, an opportunity to write out a testimony. My spirit understands that while I'm fighting my journey, while I'm fighting my battle, while I'm living out my life, there are people observing me, some of them wishing for my demise, others looking to see just how I handle my difficulty because they've been watching, because they've been listening to me. They're looking to whether I fold under pressure. They're looking to whether I can press through the difficulty. And I have an obligation to show up and show out every time. How can you smile with everything that you are going through? I remember 2012, I was getting my butt kicked by life. I lost a sister and a brother-in-law in the same month. Not the sister he was married to, but another sister within a 2-week span. had just buried a sister 5 years prior to that. Well, 7 years prior to that. So that's two sisters died, one in their 30s, one in their early 40s. Buried a brother-in-law. Had just lost everything that I had worked my entire life to create. Standing there with basically the start over package. And somebody called me, somebody that I will never forget, somebody that I looked at as being a banyan of faith. Somebody I looked at and say, when I think faith, I think of this person because I knew everything that they had been through in life and where they had come from. This person called me and said, you know what? When I observe you operating in your darkness, it challenges me to step up my faith game. You know what that did? It told me that while I'm going through, I don't have time to be a victim because other people are watching. And that I've got to be on my A game. And see, the smiles that I had wasn't disgenuine in any way. It was the fact that I had already talked to my God in my way, which is probably not your way. See, I don't run to God when I meet difficulty and ask him to deliver me. I tell people all the time, the reason God isn't answering your prayers is because he's never going to deliver you from the giant he sent you to slay. I tell people, I've been saying that for I don't know how long. You keep praying to God, asking him to take you out of this difficult moment when you were actually created to operate in it. This life is not about ease. This life is not about comfort. This life is about conquering. It's about overcoming. It's about living life at a level that most people will sit up and look at and not even believe possible because they've accepted the lies of mediocrity. That's what this life is about. It's about living life at a level that is in correlation with your design. Living life at the level of your design is your responsibility. It's your obligation to the Creator to access every ounce of your potential and live it to the fullest. But you've been telling yourself some stories. I can't do it because. The reason I haven't been able to do it yet is because as soon as this happens and that happens, let me tell you something. Okay, you didn't grow up in a house where there was any wealth and you don't know any wealthy people. And so you're waiting on somebody just to recognize you and decide out of the blue that they're going to teach you about wealth and how to invest and how to grow wealth, how to sustain wealth, the difference between liabilities and assets, the difference between liquid assets and hard assets, and how to diversify your investments and how to build a business from scratch and all these different things that are necessary for you to go out and say to do the things you say you want to do. So you're just going to sit back and wait. No, you get up, you get off of your behind, you go out there and you start grinding, you start doing research, you start reading about those who have succeeded, you start reading the books that the successful read, you start studying what the successful have written, you start watching videos of people who have succeeded at doing what you're saying you want to do. You start taking notes of the rules and the principles that are absolutely necessary to do what it is you're saying you want to do. That's what you do. You start doing it. You don't wait on anybody to bring you anything. You don't wait on anybody to hand you anything. You have everything inside of you to create everything that you need to become everything that you should become. You are where you are because you have locked your thoughts down into impossibilities, boundaries, and limitations. The only limitations that you have in your life are the ones that you've accepted in your mind. I'm almost positive when Orville and Wilbur Wright sit up and start talking about they were going to create a machine that could fly. Everybody told them they weren't being realistic. Everybody looked at them and thought they were crazy. Everybody looked at them and said, you're being foolish. You're wasting all of this time of your adult life doing some stupid stuff while you could actually be living, Orville and Wilbur. They had enough sense, if nothing else, to know, shoot, if I can see it here, I can do it. Let me tell you why. I believe in the Creator. I believe in the grand design of the universe. I've studied with great intensity and energy and time the makeup of the universe and all of the things that have to remain in absolute order in order for us to exist as we exist. There are over 100 things that scientists have identified, and as far as the gas balance, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and all the other gases that exist on this planet, the distance from the sun, the way the earth rotates around the sun, the way the earth rotates on its axis, the relationship between the earth and the moon, creating gravitational pull. All of those things have to be in order for us to live. And that's been in order for millions of years. That's design. That doesn't happen by chance. Do I believe in evolution? Yeah, I believe in evolution too. But evolution has its place behind intelligent design. You cannot deny the specificity of it. When you start talking about evolution, you can't not have microevolution where there is irreducible complexity without there being a designer. What is irreducible complexity? Irreducible complexity is a situation in which you have mechanisms in place where there are multiple mechanisms. If you remove one mechanism, the entire thing doesn't work. It's absolutely useless. If you want to look at one part of your body and see irreducible complexity in grand scheme, study the human eye. There's no way that the human eye evolved because, first of all, there has to be a known need for the ability to see. And then there has to be a slow process of a development. When you look at the complexity of the human eye and how it developed, there's no way that random selection could have produced in specificity what was needed to see over the time it would have taken to create the complexity of the human eye. That's design. But anyway, because I believe in the designer, I believe in the grand benevolence of the designer. I believe that the designer created us to be successful. He equipped all of us with everything we need to be successful. So this is what I believe about the designer. I believe that the designer would not equip us to envision things in our minds that we could never have. To me, that's cruel. So I believe that if you can see it in your mind, that is God's proof. And I think this is Les Brown. If I'm not mistaken, if you can see it in your mind, that is God's proof that it's possible. That's all the proof you need. If you can visualize it in your mind, it is God's proof to you that it's possible and within your grasp. Now, you've got to put in the work. You've got to invest in yourself. You've got to refine your gifts. You've got to work on your genius. You got to also add skill to the gift and the genius. That's another problem. So many of us are still trying to get by simply on talent. When I look at professional athletes, when I look at something I've been around and I look at it and I see some of the talent that comes through and they say, man, they were a wash. Man, they were a wash. They were a wash. Why? Because for so long they had rode on nothing but talent. They had never worked on developing skill. They were simply so gifted. They were so quick. They were so explosive. They had such quickness. They could explode towards the goal. They could run the 40 and 4.2. All these different things. But they never worked on skill set. They could run the 40 and 4.2, but their route running was horrible. And you will not outrun zones on a consistent basis in the NFL. They did not. They had great explosive ability. They could rise above the rim, play above the rim, but they didn't develop their shooting capacity. They didn't develop their ball handling skills. They didn't develop on the defensive end. And they got there and realized that it was more about than just having talent. You got to refine those talents. But what I'm trying to get you to understand, if you can see it in your mind, you can have it. But you got to stop telling yourself these negative stories. You got to stop letting people speak into you. That means you're going to have to evaluate those in your circles. And see, what I'm talking about is when I evaluate people in my circle, I'm not just looking at people who might be being negative towards my vision. Some people will be in your life and they'll be talking you up for now. I'm watching how you talk about other people. I'm watching how you behave. See, those people that out there that spend more time trying to talk about why somebody else isn't who they is or why somebody else can't do something or finding fault in other people, they are destroying their own capacity to achieve. They're revealing their own securities, and then they're projecting them on other people. And that negativity is energy that I do not want in my periphery. I don't want anybody in my periphery that cannot step outside of their box, because the energy that you emit is energy that I have to fight and convert into positive energy or to repel. And while I am capable of doing it, I have other things that I would really love to invest my energy in. So I control those within my in my circle, within my periphery, within my sphere of influence. Another thing that I have been taught, and this is extremely important, if you look up and every time you're in a room, you're the smartest person in the room, you need to change your circle. You need to change your circle. If you look up and every time you're in the room, it speaks volumes, not only to the people in your circle, but to you. 9 times out of 10, if you look up and every time you're in the room, you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably gravitating to people who you see as people that will look up to you because you like yes men. You want people to affirm you. It's real important that you have the approbation of everybody in the room. What I've adopted is the 3/3 principle. The 3/3 principles is I have work to do. So 1/3 of my time and my energy is devoted to spending time with people I see as maybe being less fortunate than me, not having the mindset that I have, and maybe being locked into a position that they truly do aspire to come out of. I spend 1/3 of my time with those people because I have an obligation to touch lives. The next 1/3 I spend with people who are aspiring, who I consider to be my peers, my equals. People that are aspiring to do things, people that are on their grind, people that have businesses, people that are out increasing their knowledge. It doesn't matter if they're doing it academically or organically. It doesn't matter to me. Autodidact. I know some autodidacts that are beasts that will hold down the fort against any academic or academician. It doesn't matter to me how you acquire your knowledge, as long as you're diligent about it, and long as you're doing it properly and correctly, understanding how to validate and devalidate the information that's put in front of you. Everything on the internet isn't true. And that's one thing, while the internet has been unbelievably beneficial and useful in the course of research, it can also be very dangerous, because you have a tendency, if you show up and it has some references and it looks academic, you take it as fact. But there are ways that you can validate any reference. There's contextual analysis, there's cross-references, there are a number of different things that will allow you to make sure that what you are reading and studying is legitimate, so that you're building your foundation on something solid. And then the last 1/3 of my time is seeking out and finding people who are blowing up the world, that are doing things that I have not done yet, and to find a place in their presence. Now, what this calls for is those of you that have experienced just doing life well, and you're always used to being the big fish in the small pond, this will be uncomfortable for you, because you're going to insert yourself into an environment in where you're the small fish, where you're dealing with people that are unbelievably successful in places that you haven't even ventured into yet. That's okay, though. See, you start out a small fish, but when you eat consistently where the big fish eat, you will eventually become a big fish. And a lot of times you will exceed and excel and transcend those that you once looked at as being mammoths in a particular area. It happens. But it starts with your ability and willingness not to always be the smartest one in the room. Now, for some of you, you're so exceptional, you're so gifted, it means you're going to change rooms a lot. Meaning you might show up in a room today and you're not the smartest, but shortly thereafter, you've sucked up everything in that room. There's nothing else for you to get. And now you're holding more than anybody in that room. So now they become a part of your first 1/3. You're now ministering to them. And this is something else I'll tell you. And matter of fact, I'm going to leave you on this. Even when you're in a room with people who are less fortunate, that are struggling, that don't have an idea that they have the capacity to do everything in this world that their mind conceives, even when you're in that room and you're packing all this knowledge of know-how, there are people in that room. Matter of fact, everybody in that room has something that they can give to you, something that they can teach you, something you can learn from every last one of them, from every child you encounter, from every adult you encounter. There's something that they have they can give you. When you train yourself to be so attuned to opportunity, even when you're in the presence of people that you see as less fortunate, the growth you will gain from what you're receiving from those people at that particular level is priceless. Because number one is they're going to give you some life lessons that doesn't come systematically. They're organic. Number two, the fact that you're open to being taught by them creates the genuineness necessary for them to hear you. If you don't take anything else, take that. Because when you walk in a room and you're feeling yourself, and I have no problem with you feeling yourself. I feel myself every day, because if I don't feel myself, I'll let all these ignorant people that keep trying to tear me down get the best of me. I feel myself, but I don't place myself in a condescending position over anyone. I'm just not going to let you tell me I'm not the beast that I am. You can't tell me that. I know it. I feel it. It doesn't impact you. The problem is a lot of people will take your success and your confidence in yourself personal. And the moment they begin to take what you do and how you feel about you personal, they immediately interpret that as arrogance. That's because they're not feeling themselves. When you feeling yourself, you see another person feeling themselves. The energy that is created, it automatically actually supports one another. I meet a guy that's doing better than me and he's feeling himself. I'm not down on him or talking about him. Shoot, I'm getting in that energy, because the energy he's creating will pull me into the vortex of what he's doing. Not necessarily specifically, but how he's thinking, how he's operating. Learn how to move in energy. I am going to make sure that you understand that life doesn't just happen to you. It responds to you. You are exactly where you are because of your thought processes, the limitations that you set, the mindset that you have, the stories that you've been telling your subconscious consistently over and over has set up how you feel about yourself, what you think of yourself, what your spirit sees you as, how your spirit interprets your circumstances, and the activity that creates, the activity or inactivity that creates. So you're where you're at because of how you think. If you want to change your situation, you change your thought process. I tell people this all the time. You have what you have because of who you are. If there's something you want that you can't have yet, that you don't have yet, it's because of who you are. If you got something over there that you can't get, you got to change who you are. You get what you are. You have to become what you want. You have to become the person that's capable of having and producing what it is you want. You can't get it if you're not that person. And so you got to change. You got to evolve. You got to grow. And it starts with your thought processes. And if you've already been locked into a situation of I can't, you better take can't out your vocabulary. Take impossible out of your vocabulary. I really wish I could remember that quote by Muhammad Ali about impossible. That quote is so powerful. He says, and this is really paraphrasing. He says that impossible is simply a word thrown around by small men who would much rather wander in the world, much rather live in the world that they are given than to have the courage to step out and change it. Impossibility is an idea. It's a concept. Impossibility is not real. And then you look at the people who think like that and look at what they've done. They transcended. Impossibility is a concept and an idea that when you accept it will set you in a world of limited possibilities. When you dismiss it and realize that you have a spirit set into you by the Creator that has capacity for the impossible, Nothing is impossible anymore. It just requires your work. Now, it don't mean that the moment you make up your mind and make a decision, you're going to get out there and everything's going to be great. No, that's not what it is. You're going to have some hard work. You're going to have some difficulties. You're going to run into some hot moments. You're going to have delay. I tell people that all the time. One thing that gets a lot of people is delay. I'm going to tell you something. Delay is not denial. It does not mean denial. It just means work harder. Be patient. Stay the course. Don't give up. Don't quit. So many people quit before the breakthrough. Don't let that be you. That's it for today. Didn't mean to stay this long, but I wanted to make sure that I got this across to you, because there are some people out there that are really sitting down pondering what's possible for them. And they are writing a narrative without even realizing. Every time you tell yourself, I can't do it now because I would do it, but you're setting a narrative in your mind, in your conscious, in your subconscious, and in your spirit that's limiting you. There's nothing you can't do. At any situation, there's no situation that can be placed in front of you that can present impossibility unless you accept impossibility. I'm gonna down E. I'm going to leave this world having given everything I can to my potential. I'm going to exhaust every ounce of it in giving back to the world, in attempting to make the world a better place than when I found it. And I encourage you to do the same thing. I love all of you. Good morning to all of you that stopped in this morning. Peace.